At the depth of the ocean, a portal from another dimension opened. From this, the Earth is being invaded by huge kaiju monsters. Humanity has experienced everything, but conventional weapons are not capable of destroying them. By joining forces, countries are creating special Jaeger machines. They are designed for two pilots, and successfully cope with the extermination of kaiju, so the Jaeger pilots are respected and honored. The main character Riley and his brother Yancy are authorized to eliminate the kaiju of the third category of the Sharphead. Their gamekeeper has the call sign Tramp. The pilot brothers are united by a special neural connection. Their minds merge into one, and this allows you to divide the control of a huge machine by one person for each hemisphere. Marshal Stacker Pentecost gives the order to stay at the base, but Riley and Yancy do not obey, because they want to save the lives of 10 fishermen who were caught in a storm in the ocean. A giant kaiju is on the way, on a fishing boat, but the Tramp immediately reacts and protects people. First, the brothers knock out kaiju with a blow to the head, and later shoot at him with a plasma cannon, forcing him to return to the depths of the ocean. The Marshal tells the brothers that he is still receiving signals from this monster, and he emerges from the water and grabs the Tramp. During the battle, he absorbs half of the machine and kills Yancy. Riley remains alone in the Jaeger, and, driving the car alone, simultaneously tries to shoot the monster with a plasma cannon. Finally, he succeeds, but the signals from both him and kaiju are lost. A man with great difficulty pilots a huntsman to the nearest shore, where he is rescued by an old man and his grandson. 5 years later, a coalition of countries decides not to design Jaegers anymore, since kaiju destroys cars faster than people make them. In return, the leaders propose to throw forces into building protective coastal walls in cities. Marshal Pentecost, however, does not want to leave the project he heads. Once again, a huge Eureka striker, built in Australia, saves the huntsman. Its pilots attack kaiju with rocket launchers. But after a successful operation, the huntsman is sent back to Hong Kong, the last combat post where he came from and where all the remaining Jaegers are located. Riley is currently working on one of the wall construction projects. The Marshal finds him and arrives personally to ask him to return to the Jaeger pilots. The guy flatly refuses because after the incident with his brother, he is still haunted by nightmares. But the Marshal asks only one question that makes Riley think. He asks how he would prefer to die, behind the construction of the wall or fighting inside the huntsman. Together, Marshal and Riley board a helicopter and fly to Hong Kong. There, Riley meets Mako, Marshal's adopted daughter, who also dreams of becoming a pilot. The Pentecost shows the guy the best Rangers, a Crimson Typhoon from China, driven by triplets, and a Black Alpha, a brutal car from Russia. He also gets acquainted with the pilots of Striker Eureka, Chuck and his father Hansen, who have a record number of 11 kills on their account. Marshal Stacker's plan is to install nuclear weapons in the Eureka Striker, approach the portal, and detonate a bomb there. This will allow you to close the portal forever and forget about the problem. The Marshal gives the floor to two scientists, Herman and the biology specialist Kaiju Newton. Herman explains that the number of kaiju is growing very fast, and subsequently they will multiply until they destroy humanity. He proves that the portal will be open long enough to plant a bomb there. And when it explodes, the passage between the worlds will be closed forever. Newton objects. He says they don't have enough information about monsters, and in general, they look like clones, since they all have the same DNA. The biologist suggests using advanced technologies of Rangers to better understand the nature of kaiju. But the Marshal likes Herman's plan more, since he wants to take urgent measures. Talking to Riley alone, Maka expresses her extreme disappointment at how impulsively he makes decisions. The guy can't disagree, but he must avenge his brother. Riley participates in the selection of the co-pilot. In training, he easily hits any opponent. Watching the battles, Maka makes it clear in sign language that she has a very low opinion of his skill. Then Riley asks the Marshal to step into the ring, the best of the best. He doubts, but allows Maka to fight the guy herself. During the fight, it is clear that their movements are incredibly synchronized, and Riley is sure that the girl is the best choice for the co-pilot's seat. But the Marshal is against Maka participating in the real one. He is not bowed down, and all three part, disappointed and upset. At the same time, Newton, ignoring Stacker's order, closes himself in the laboratory for research. With the help of devices, it connects to the kaiju's brain lobe in order to study it better. In the course of his research, he discovers a vision of the kaiju headquarters, and he confirms his guesses. The monster is a tool of an alien race created to destroy humanity. Conducting the experiment, Newton almost dies, but Herman comes to the rescue in time. The marshal, after much thought, allows Mac to manage the huntsman. An excited Herman calls Stacker to tell him about Newton's discovery. The scientist says that he is sure that the kaiju was created by aliens, but in order to learn more, he needs another monster brain. Then the marshal gives him the contacts of Hannibal Chow, the owner of the black market for the sale of organs of the murdered kaiju. Mako is ready for battle and gets into the huntsman. Riley is glad that he will have such a partner. They're on their way. But connected by a neural network, Riley and Maka together succumb to past memories. Riley about her brother, about Maka, about the death of her parents, who were killed by kaiju when she was little. The girl succumbs to emotions, and in a fit of feelings, every now and then presses the trigger. Those watching what is happening at the headquarters are forced to disconnect the weapon systems, before she has time to destroy the entire system. Newton finds Hannibal Chow and turns to him with his request. He becomes enraged when he hears about the experience. He says that this is a two-way process, and if Newton managed to get into their brains, then the aliens also draw information about humanity. Hannibal warns Newton to be wary. The kaiju must be coming for him soon. In the meantime, there is increased seismic activity in the headquarters, which means the appearance of two kaijus of the fourth category, Itachi and Thug at once. The Marshal orders the Rangers Crimson Typhoon and Black Alpha to attack, while the Eureka Striker remains to defend the harbor. Riley and Mac are suspended from this mission. Helicopters lower the Rangers to the sea, and the Eureka Striker slowly follows them. Typhoon begins the operation, but Itachi hits the Huntsman and knocks him into the water with a powerful blow. The Huntsman quickly returns to battle, but the attackers are stronger. Using his reaction speed, Typhoon grabs Itachi, flips him in the air, and throws him into the ocean. Cherno Alpha enters the battle and, helping Typhoon, continues to smash Itachi. But Kaiju manages to throw the Alpha under the water. Then Itachi hits the Typhoon with his tail, beheads the Huntsman, and kills his pilots. Despite the loss of part of the team, the Russians continue to fight. Itachi spits acid and hits Alpha. The Australian team rushes to the aid of the Allies, but a bully enters the battle and attacks the Black Alpha. Itachi approaches the Australians, but they immediately shoot him down. Continuing to attack, the Eureka Striker conducts an uppercut. At this time, Cherno Alpha explodes underwater, and its pilots are killed. Striker Eureka lifts Kaiju above the water and throws him. The Huntsman is ready to finish the fight with a rocket projectile. The bully feels defeated and releases a huge electromagnetic pulse, which de-energizes the Huntsman, and turns off electricity throughout the city. The Marshal has no choice but to let Riley and Mac join the battle, since there is a nuclear reactor in the Jaeger, and they are ready for battle. At the same time, Newton tries to find shelter, as after his experiments, Kaiju really pursues him, destroying everything in his path. Henson, the pilot of Eureka, tries to take himself off the hook, but he is thrown against the wall, and Kaiju punches the Huntsman and injures his arm. Henson and his son decide to defend the city by distracting Kaiju with fire weapons. But this only irritates the monster, and he attacks them. The guys are saved by the appearance of a tramp who distracts the Kaiju's attention. The bully approaches the Huntsman, but the tramp manages to sneak up from behind and destroy his weapon. This angers the monster, and it throws them to the shore. The tramp lands unharmed and then deals a devastating blow to the bully. The Huntsman continues to attack the bully using rockets, but he finds a balance and gives a powerful rebuff. The Huntsman fights back and fires a plasma cannon until Kaiju loses his arm and loses consciousness. The tramp throws the body and starts chasing the second monster. Before devouring the prey, Itachi notices someone's presence. Turning around, he sees a tramp advancing on him with a cargo ship. Riley and Maka use the ship as a sword and attack the Kaiju. The monster fights back and, in the end, throwing the boat away, shoots acid at the Huntsman. They manage to dodge. Riley and Maka damage the Kaiju's tongue, and his tail is frozen and cut into small pieces. Having started with the tongue, they pull it out with both hands. But to their amazement, Kaiju grabs the Huntsman and, spreading his wings, flies up. Itachi rises so high in the atmosphere that the tramp loses functionality. Maka uses the last weapon. With a sword, she cuts the creature in half. They rush down to the ground, but slow down the fall by concentrating energy into the airstream. Riley and Maka land, causing a huge shockwave. But the main thing is that they themselves are safe and sound. The guy and the girl return to the headquarters, and everyone celebrates the victory. Newton discovers that one of the dead kaiju was pregnant, and he can use the fetal brain. Herman wants to help his friend with the last experience before learning new facts and completing the final mission. They connect to the kaiju source, and, by searching for memories, learn all the secrets of the portal. Both immediately realize that their original plan will not work, and rush to inform the marshal about it. He had just decided to replace Hansen on the Jaeger due to his injuries. Chaco says goodbye to his father, as he understands that this fight may be the last for him. The two remaining Jaegers. They dive under the water and start moving towards the portal. However, visibility is too poor. Approaching the target, the pilots see two new kaiju of the fourth category, Rokoli and Ryu. However, to their surprise, the monsters do not attack. Scientists run to the control unit and try to stop the pilots. They say that they will not be able to enter the portal without kaiju DNA. They need to outsmart the system and enter the portal disguised as one of the monsters. Newton and Herman's speech is interrupted by a signal about the appearance of a new Category V Kaiju Slattern. Riley and Maka try to help their team, but they are immediately attacked by Rokoli. They manage to knock the monster to the ground, but Ryu appears from behind and grabs Riley's hand. Instead of running, the pilots use inertia to point a sword at the monster and cut it in half. Slattern attacks Eureka and pushes the huntsman away from the portal entrance. But the pilots manage to go on the defensive, and they pierce the kaiju with two swords at once. Slattern roars in agony and calls for help from a friend. Both monsters attack the huntsman with lightning speed. Realizing that there is no other way, the marshal decides to act as a bomb himself. He wants to clear the way for the tramp to use the nuclear reactor to close the portal. It causes a huge explosion, pushing away the flow of water in the ocean. This allows the tramp to approach the portal. By some miracle, Slattern survived and interferes with the huntsman. The tramp jumps on kaiju and strikes him blow after blow. Riley turns on the central reactor and starts burning a hole right through the monster, which eventually dies. Riley and Mac manage to get through the portal with Kaiju's body. Maka suffocates from the loss of oxygen, but Riley manages to carry her out through the emergency exit. He himself continues to set up the reactor, setting the time of the bomb explosion in 60 seconds. After that, he pushes himself out of the huntsman and runs away through the emergency exit, and the tramp continues to move in the direction of the Kaiju military base. The aliens look at the car in disbelief, and at this moment a nuclear reactor explodes. The explosion destroys everything in the area and simultaneously closes the portal. Riley and Maka are saved, and everyone is celebrating their victory. A guy and a girl hug, and the military come to their aid. I don't know about you, but I like the film for its thoughtfulness and incredible scale.